Residents of Holland Bukit Timah GRC. Politics is about sincere service, sincere action. I think you know me, what I stand for, how I've worked hard for you, and how I've represented you in Parliament and served you and your families, your children in our constituency. You know that it has been a priority of mine to visit every estate, every neighborhood in Ulu Pandan. 10,800 home visits over the past 5 years, to be exact, to understand firsthand how to partner residents through difficult moments, and there have been many difficult moments, and to learn firsthand how to build a strong community. My teammates share these values and have matched these values with action for you, your families, and your children. Week in, week out, month in, month out, year in, year out. Our values, beliefs, ideals are met with action, not talk, action. I mentioned 10,800 home visits to HDB homes, private apartments, and landed homes. Every visit is important, precious, meaningful. Moments are shared, and an understanding of the family is forged. Let me share just one example, though there are many, many more examples. I share this because it continues to reflect why we do what we do for the residents we serve. When I was newly elected 9 years ago, I met a grandmother who lived in Gimo Estate. She was already in her 60s, but was single-handedly raising her grandson. Why? Because her own daughter was in prison. Why? Because of drugs. The daughter was a drug addict. Undeterred by the difficulties before her, this grandmother soldiered on, working jobs to make ends meet. When we met 9 years ago, I saw her steely determination, but I also knew and assessed that she was tired. We stepped in with rations, vouchers, and financial assistance. But those are only practical things. As with all residents we partner, I resolved to do more. Beyond the practicalities, to offer her companionship and friendship. Regularly, we would meet in the constituency, deliberately asking her how she was coping, whether she was overcoming. Weeks led into months, months into years. Did we help? Did we assist? Some would say yes. I would like to say that we partnered each other. I learned from her resolve, and she too knew a whole community was behind her. Just before her daughter came out of prison, the grandmother told me of her release date. I wrote that daughter a letter and asked this grandmother to place it on the dining table for the daughter to read when she returned home. I wrote to say that her own mother had been through much raising the grandchild for years alone. But in the letter was also an open offer of a job at the Ulu Pandan Community Club, which I helped to run, should the daughter want to persevere and hold down a steady income. The daughter thanked me for the letter, but chose to go into the F&B trade. The family is much better now, on their feet. Partnership, action, service. I should pause here and share the lesson I learned from this. She said, the grandmother, she said sometime after we met, "Thank you for the financial assistance. We are better now. Please give it to someone who needs it more." That is the Singaporean spirit. We gave several awards to the grandson for academic achievement through his primary school, and he got into the secondary school of his choice recently. These are our values, not just mine, but the whole team's. Dr. Vivian Balakrishnan, Ms. Sim Ann, Mr. Liang Eng Hua. These are our values, the whole team's. And we don't stop until vulnerabilities are overcome and families are back on their feet. Overcoming vulnerabilities. But partnering the vulnerable does not stop at the work we do in the constituency. It has a place, a rightful and significant place in Parliament. It is this strong core belief that drove me to argue for, initiate the Prevention of Human Trafficking Bill. It was a private member's bill, which meant I would have to convince the government, as well as the MPs, PAP, opposition, and MPs, to support it. Some people said it was too mammoth a task. Well, it cut across policies of 7 agencies: MOH, MOM, MSF, ICA Police, and so on. But there was a reservoir deep enough to do it. What was that? The belief that the vulnerable must be partnered, must be nurtured to get back on their feet, and stand tall. For who else in our society is more vulnerable than those who are trafficked? So with that belief, 10 interagency meetings were held, 6 public consultations, hundreds engaged over many participations. Focus was singular: to partner the vulnerable and have them overcome. All this took an intense 1 year in addition to constituency work. In November 2014, the Prevention of Human Trafficking Bill was debated in Parliament. After several hours and late in the evening, Parliament was convinced of its ethos. That night, it gained unanimous support of the MPs present in the House. Both sides of the House, government and PAP MPs, as well as opposition MPs. I could not have done it without the support of you, the residents of Holland Bukit Timah, who encouraged me, spoke with me, emailed me through the intense process. And all my teammates in the GRC stayed late into the night in Parliament that November to support the bill and vote aye, vote yes, and with that voice, record our voice and support for the voiceless. In all earnestness, these values are the team's values: partnership, service, action. I would like to move on to a topic close to my heart: the defense of our nation. I've written about it in the Straits Times, debated it in Parliament. It is not an academic topic for me. I grew up in a military family. My father signed on in 1965 at the age of 18, even before NS was formalized. Was selected to train as a fighter pilot. Helped set up squadrons in the SAF. He is here today with my mother and my wife. My father flew in the 1st Black Knights team Why did he risk his life? The more important question, why did my own mother agree to him pushing the envelope up there? We were told from young, no one will defend us but ourselves. With the Black Knights flying in the early 70s, jets, it made crowds roar, but sent strong messages elsewhere. Don't mess. Today we have the Black Knights and all our servicemen in the Singapore Armed Forces pushing that same envelope. And that same message rings loud and clear today, as with every of the 5 decades of Singapore's sovereignty. It was a message that rang loud and clear when my parents affixed the epaulets on my shoulders during national service, and rang loud and clear throughout the ICTs that I served, and I'm sure that you served. SDP's proposal to almost halve the defense budget will ambush Singapore's sovereignty. They say cut the defense budget to half of what it is today, 3-5 years' time. In this environment, this geopolitical environment, that is naive, dangerous, but most of all, for discerning voters, opportunistic. But they know, and they know well, they have to cut from somewhere to fund their extreme policies. So easy formula. Take from defense. Naive. What's their rationale? They put us in the basket, our country, in the basket of small developed countries, and suggest we cut defense because we too are a small developed country, just like the small defense budgets of those other small developed countries. Small, we are. But what are these small developed countries they cite? Switzerland, New Zealand, Norway, Finland. For goodness sake, these countries are nestled in the bosom of Europe. Look at our neighborhood. Your tax, SDP, your tax and spend extreme policies need major financing. They say cut from defense. Dangerous. Our peace and sovereignty exists because we have a potent SAF. Don't make the mistake of saying otherwise from a political soapbox. Don't jeopardize Singapore's sovereignty. I grew up on Changi Air Base with the sound of troopers marching and running to the chant of Kiri, Kiri, Kiri Kanan Kiri, and jets on their final approaches and takeoffs. It is a sacred duty to keep Singapore safe. Don't ever jeopardize it. I have shared heart to heart with you tonight. This is me. What you see is what you get. My team is the same. Partnership, action, service, and a deep sense of duty. Vote for the PAP. Terima kasih. Nandri. Xie xie. Thank you.